Hi, welcome to the New York Indian Film Festival, the oldest film festival in North America, and our 21st edition. And this is our second virtual edition, given the circumstances of the pandemic. That is, the state of the world right now. Glad to note that moviesaints.com is hosting us again, and as usual, doing a stellar service. The festival, New York Indian Film Festival, the virtual edition runs from June 4th to 13th. And during those festival days, we'll be screening 58 films in 15 languages. And all films will be streamed in North America, and some will be streamed globally and in other parts of the world. So, I mean, in North America. But in America, folks, audiences will be able to watch all the films. So please keep that in mind. And the festival truly reflects the diversity of the country, given that we have picked features, documentaries, and shorts coming out of 15 languages. And for today, I'm going to be talking to the cast, the producer of a Telugu film called Male, which was released in 2021. And although it is showing on a very limited basis on a platform, on a Telugu platform, we thought it would be fantastic for a worldwide audience to get a sense of what a film like Male brings to the table. And I'm really, really happy to introduce the director and the cast and the producer of the film Male, which we are glad to screen. And so, without further ado, I'd like to introduce the director, Uday Gurula, who made Male, and he's also the director of cinematography for the film. And I would also like to invite Swapna Dutt, the producer of the film. Hi, Swapna. Hi, Uday.
Hello. Hi,
And
Suresh.
hi. And I would also like to invite Priyadarshi, who plays one of the main roles in the film. Um, Hi, Priyadarshi, or as some of us know him well, we call him Darshi. And I'd like to take an opportunity here to welcome Gauri Priya. Um, Hi, Gauri. Hi,
Hi.
Gauri. Welcome, welcome. And lastly, but not the least, the protagonist of the film, so to speak, who plays Ravi in that film, male, Harshit Reddy. Hi, Harshit.
Hello,
Hi,
hi. Thank you so
welcome,
much for having
welcome.
us.
So, welcome, Andy, Andarki. And I'm going to be, since I speak Telugu, I'm going to be alternating between English and Telugu. Please break into Telugu if you feel comfortable, and we'll translate it, summarize it. So, absolutely feel comfortable. And it's also nice to hear the sound of Telugu at a New York Indian Film Festival. And on that note, I'd love to invite you all to the 21st edition of the New York Indian Film Festival. And congratulations on your nomination for the best screenplay. That's amazing. Congratulations to the whole cast and crew. Uh,
Thank you.
I really have so many questions about the film, and one thing I must note ఏంటంటే at top of the head, నాకు Telugu cinemaలో I grew up with Telugu films, and here at the festival, I've been at the festival for a long time. So I teach communication studies and media and film at Pace University in downtown New York, and I've been with the committee since 2003 or four, Asim and I. So we have been curating films for the festival for a very, very long time. And ఒకటేంటంటే one thing I've noticed is that we don't really get too many submissions from Telugu films industry. And there are reasons for it. Commercial angle ఒకటి, and so recently it started అన్నమాట, so uh, some films that are geared more toward realism, right? So Kanchara Palamaundi, we screened that Venkatesh Maha's film 3 years ago, I think. So this was a revelation for us to watch a film like Mail, word of mouth, and say, "Wow, this is a submission like that." And we said, "You know what? We have to show this film because it's a lovely film. It's a cute film. It's not a dark film. We could have made a dark turn here or there." But Uday Nante, he said, "Let me make it." So I just wanted to kind of set up the context for the film. So Uday Garu, let me go with you first, Andy. So please tell us how this idea germinated. ఎప్పుడు మొదలైంది this idea to make this particular film as part of um, a narrative, a longer narrative called Kammalapalli. So అది ఎలా స్టార్ట్ అయింది చెప్పండి.
సో యాక్చువల్లీ చిన్న అంటే నేను డిగ్రీ చేసే టైంలో మా లెక్చరర్ ఒక అతను ఉండే అనమాట, కంప్యూటర్ లెక్చరర్. సో బేసిక్గా తను మాకు ఇనిషియల్గా చెప్పులు వేసుకొని రావద్దు అని చెప్పేది అనమాట. సో మాకు అప్పుడు తెలీదు, అంటే చెప్పులు వేసుకొని రావద్దు అంటే నిజంగానే రావద్దేమో ల్యాబ్లకి అని అనుకునేది. సో నా డిగ్రీ మొత్తం అట్లనే కంప్లీట్ అయిపోయింది, తెలియకుండానే అట్లనే మేము అంతా బయట ఇచ్చి వెళ్ళిపోయేది. వన్స్ బిఎఫ్ఏకి వచ్చిన తర్వాత, ఫైన్ ఆర్ట్స్కి వచ్చిన తర్వాత మా వాళ్ళందరూ సిగరెట్లు, మందు అంతా కంప్యూటర్ పక్కనే అంతా ఉండేసరికి అప్పుడు అర్థమైంది అనమాట. అంటే మా సీనియర్ అడిగితే ఒకసారి పైకి కిందికి చూసిండు అనమాట నన్ను, అంటే పైనుంచి కింద చూసిండు, అరే ఇది నువ్వు అనుకునేటట్టు కాదని అన్నప్పుడు అప్పుడు నాకు అంటే నేను ఇన్ని రోజులు కొంచెం ఒక ఫూలిష్గా తెలియకుండానే నా కోర్స్ కంప్లీట్ చేసిన అనే దాంట్లో అనిపించింది. సో అది అప్పుడు తెలియలేదు, కానీ ఓవర్ ద టైం తర్వాత ఎప్పుడు అనిపించినప్పుడు అరే నిజంగా దీని మీద ఈ ఐడియా మీద ఒకటి చేయొచ్చు, మంచి కథ చేయొచ్చు కదా అని అనిపించింది. సో నేను సినిమాటోగ్రఫీ జర్నీ స్టార్ట్ చేసిన తర్వాత అంటే ఒకసారి అనిపించినప్పుడు దాన్ని మళ్ళీ ఒకసారి కంప్లీట్ దాంతో ఒక విలేజ్ బ్యాక్డ్రాప్లో ఉంటే బాగుంటుందని అట్లా ఐడియా స్టార్ట్ అయింది.
Fascinating. So, what Uday is saying is that this idea germinated when he was doing his bachelor's program in computer engineering, and when his professor told him, "Come in without shoes," he took it for a literal truth, and then ended up continuing doing that for the rest of the program. And then slowly that idea germinated, and then he ended up pursuing cinematography as a profession. And then it comes together. So yeah, beautiful. Uday, ఇది ఫస్ట్ స్టోరీ అని నేను చదివాను. That Mail is the first part of a Kambalapalli series అని. So can you tell us more about what the series is? And by the way, this Kambalapalli that figures in the film as the location is a village that you grew up in, kada? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So యాక్చువల్లీ ఏంటంటే ఇప్పుడు ఇందులో బేసిక్గా ఈ కంబలపల్లి కథలు అనే దాంట్లో కంప్లీట్గా ఏంటంటే ఇన్నోసెంట్ ఫూల్స్ని బేస్ చేసుకొని, అంటే అందులో ఉన్న వాళ్ళంతా కూడా ఏంటంటే ఇన్నోసెంట్ పీపులే, బట్ వాళ్ళంతా కూడా ఒక చిన్న ఫూలిష్ లాగా ఉంటారు అనమాట. సో ఆ ఫూలిష్ వరల్డ్ని రిప్రజెంట్ చేయాలని అనుకొని ఉండే బేసిక్గా. సో అది అట్లా కొన్ని ఐడియాస్ ఉన్నాయి అనమాట. ఆ ఐడియాస్ అన్ని కూడా ఏంటంటే పార్ట్స్ వైజ్గా చేస్తే బాగుంటుంది. సేమ్ అన్ని ఒకటే స్టోరీలో మనం పెట్టలేము. మెయిల్ అనే ఒకటే, అంటే అది ఒక పర్టికులర్ సెగ్మెంట్. అట్లా కంబాలపల్లి ఆ సిరీస్ ఆఫ్ స్టోరీలో మనం అలాంటి స్టోరీస్ చెప్పొచ్చు కదా అని అనిపించింది అనమాట. సో అట్లా
నాకు ఫిల్మ్ గురించి చాలా ఒక పార్ట్ ఏం నచ్చిందంటే, అది ఆస్పిరేషనల్ అన్నమాట. ఒక మిడిల్ క్లాస్ అబ్బాయి చిన్న విలేజ్ లోని late 2005 అంటే this film was set in early 2000 అంటే Y2K తర్వాత కదా. So it was very nice just to see how a naive boy growing up in a small village Kambalapalli becomes obsessed about learning skills concerning a computer and how to master that. Fascinating to see how ఒక autobiographical touch ఉంది ఆ ఫిల్మ్ లోనే. అంటే ఇట్స్ యువర్ స్టోరీ ఇన్ అ వే, బట్ ద వే యూ కైండ్ ఆఫ్ రిప్రజెంటెడ్ ఇట్ బ్యూటిఫుల్లీ. ఐ మీన్ నిజంగా. Swapna, I want to bring you in here because you are from a producer family. I'm aware of that. And hats off to you, to you and Priyanka, and Is Ashwin related to you, right? Ashwin
Yes,
Das?
yes.
Yeah,
He's my
yeah.
yeah, my that's my father. We have two
Oh, your
Ashwins in
father.
family.
Sorry,
One
yeah,
is
yeah.
my
Ashwin,
father,
yeah,
one is
yes.
the brother-in-law.
Okay, Bansi. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know your, I know of your family. So it's very fascinating now to see people like you stepping in and saying that, okay, now it's not just about producing movies that are only commercially successful, but we also want to walk a line where films are critically acclaimed, but they're also commercially successful. So, what is it about this particular story that resonated with you as a producer, where you said, this is something that I really want to get behind.
Uh, I'd like to share this bit of a credit with someone called Mr. Summer. He heads a content department, and he's the one who bought this story to life, and he got this to me. I've kind of heard like a brief narration. With Uday, I know there's never a brief narration. A brief narration is also a good 2 hour narration. So I
Yeah.
asked him if it, so is this brief like so, but there was so much honesty in the whole story uh, that you'll just I mean, the very first time we've heard itself, we've like, there's something very nice about it. There's something very honest about it. So, but even after listening to it, I have had my own limitations on how to bring it to life. Like initially, when Uday came to us to make this film, it was a feature film. It was not meant to be on an OTT. So the whole idea of like how do we bring this into life, and how do we, I mean, there's making a film is one ball game, and bringing it to the theaters, getting audience to come and watch it, is another ball game. You know about it. How do we do it is the question. And then there was a bit of a back and forth. There was a bit of a back and forth. I was a little worried about the pace with that and all this. And then again, it was genuinely the honesty of the film that pushed us to do it, and then we've decided to do it. And then also, fortunately, the platform that you were talking about, AHA, came in, to back us up on it. um, I don't know what it would have been if not, if in the pandemic. Probably the whole idea when we started is we'll start off as an OTT film. If it does really, I mean, if it all comes out well, we'll go theatrical. Yeah, and then the pandemic happened, and then we could never do the theatrical like we thought it should. But then, yeah, so that's a bit of a story about Mail and me.
Yeah. No, no, no. I mean, just to add, what was stunning about this particular edition of the festival is that we got more than 140 submissions during the pandemic. So
Wow.
hats off to the filmmakers for braving the pandemic, the virus, shooting under difficult circumstances. And
Yeah,
I know
absolutely.
you people, literally lived in a school out of your suitcases to shoot this film. So there's a lot of sacrifice involved there. Shooting in a village. I know I'm very, very familiar. I know I lived in Rudru, Nizamabad for 6 months as part of my bachelor's program back home in India when I was growing up. So I'm familiar with that area, and it's not easy. Not at all easy, yeah. But hats off to you all, Swapna, in terms of bringing in this kind of cinema, because growing up on a diet of kind of fantasy escapist film is one thing, especially in the 80s, and great cinema too at the same time. But this particular film kind of brought in for me B. Narasimha Rao's ethos from the 70s, that Telangana vernacular, that groundedness and that honesty, and mixing it with the contemporary. So it was a beautiful mix for me, in that sense. Uh, so yeah, I mean, we have the actors here too, and I wanted to kind of quickly move on to everyone and then kind of open up the conversation a little more. We have Darshi. Darshi plays one of the main guys in the film, and plays a character called Hybert. A very fascinating character, a character who can make you angry, a character who can make you laugh, who can make you cringe. But superbly essayed role. Welcome, Darshi, and also
Thank
full
you.
disclosure. I've known Darshi since the early '90s when he was our student at the University of Hyderabad. I was the visiting faculty there in the threshold.
Yeah.
Uh, and it's also kind of strange to introduce Darshi as a senior actor here, given that Gauri and Darshit are debutants. But he is a senior actor who's done some stellar roles in films that have come out in the recent past. Amazing films, offbeat, realistic Telugu cinema. From Pellu Chupulu onwards. So, welcome Darshi again. And
Thank you, Professor Satish. Thank you
so,
so much.
so tell us what appealed to you in this particular script when Uday brought it to you, or when it came to your attention.
I think much before the script, I think I remember that one day me and Uday, we sat across in his office, and he showed me a short film that he has shot. Um, and all I could remember from that day was I was laughing so loud the way when I was watching the short film. And back when I was studying, I remember this, or from the clear observations from my family, that how my mother and my grandmother, my father, they are all adapting to technology to measures. Remember those 486 machines that they are there in the computer laboratory
Yeah,
in the University of Hyderabad,
yeah,
where it used to be a huge deal to even enter in there. There's
yeah,
a protocol where you have to leave your footwear outside. You need to
yeah,
register in the book, and just to be there, in that room,
yeah.
it used to look like a cold storage with all these machines in
Absolutely.
there. And to walk into such a great feeling, and watching that short film is some kind of deja vu for me, where I was you know, going through some of those memories back in my days as a kid, looking at my father, chappal baited wali, you should leave your footwear outside. Make
Right.
sure you cleaned your hands or sanitized your hands or whatever. And there's used to be a strict guidelines and protocols that people were following then back then. And I think even it happened. I had a similar episodes when I was studying my undergrad in a college where leaving the footwear outside. So all of this, these memories and these little anecdotes that I had back then, they were kind of flashing up before my eyes when I was watching that short film. And also, I think. I'd also known Uday much before, much before Mail. We were shooting these short films and also a couple of promotional videos for other companies around. So I knew his craft very well. So it wasn't much. It didn't take much for me for him to convince me. And also, I was very much um, through the way he was making the film and all. And definitely there's Sapnaka, we call her Sapnaka. Yeah, such a massive production house that was there, and there's also, wanting to make a cinema and want to make a difference, not just
Yeah,
films, but want to make a difference in terms of not just content, but creating art per se.
exactly.
So
Yeah,
there are many such factors that got me on board. And yes, but definitely, I could see that Uday was up for something great and something very unusual in its own way. You go back, because when you watch some Iranian films or in some European films, you wonder like why won't we make films like this anywhere in Telugu or somewhere like that. So it was
yeah.
such an
No,
endearing story.
yeah, beautifully said, because that's what it reminded me of. The pace of the film, it was quiet. The score by Kamran and the songs by, Speaker Agasti.
Speaker Arrest.
Yeah,
Agust.
they were
Speaker
brilliant.
Aresti,
I
yeah.
mean, it was just the mood. Different rasas at different times. Beautifully done. And I remember telling you all, it was also this, when we were talking to each other the other day, last week, it's just this, the pace of the film. There was this calmness to the film too, in a way. And of course, also the locale makes a big difference in terms of, giving that. Yeah. Same question, Gauri. I know you are an actor too. And of course, what is really brilliant about this film, if I have to summarize this film just through a non-verbal thing, I would slowly put two fingers off of mine like that. You know, that's the, for me, that's beautifully done. So a lot of it is also about non-verbal communication here. That's what I kind of was reminded of Bapu. Bapu would, just use those expressions. Think you nothing else, just a look there, a glance there. So, same question as I asked Darshi. What drew you to this particular film? Given your own, entry into, Telugu film industry, what you were looking for and what landed in your lap, and how did you, adapt to it? And because going from an urban Hyderabadi to a village girl, the transition is not easy.
So the shift from this urban girl that I am to the village girl that I played was, I mean, Udayana made it very inevitable for me because, through the workshops that we've had and, the other work that we've done behind the movie, that made my work a lot more easier. So, firstly, I got auditioned in 2019 ending. Then I was told, see, we are shooting this movie in hot summer in March and April, and we have to go to the village and we are doing it indie style. And he just scared me for the first time. Like, I didn't even catch the slang properly. And, it was just like, he did not narrate the entire script to me. He just gave a short scene and he asked me to do it. I did it my own way. I think he liked it, or I just don't know, but he was just talking about the other things. I thought, okay, I didn't understand like how I would go and manage, but eventually I did not get any call back. And in the early 2020, COVID happened and all of that, and I thought, okay, maybe they might have gone and shot ahead with someone else. Then again in July, I get a call from the team saying that we wanted to take another audition from you. Then I gave my audition. Then I got shortlisted. Then we did this nice 20 good workshop for 20 days, which helped me to understand what goes into being this village girl, because I was born and brought up in Hyderabad, and I'm like this complete urban girl, and I talk Telangana because I have a lot of Telangana friends. That's the way you talk, that's the very informal language that we friends talk. But catching those nuances, like when you are a village girl, you don't talk like a Hyderabadi, that's a different slang altogether. So I mean, yeah, Udayana helped us a lot through the workshop. And um, after I got onto the set, for the first 5 days, we were just shooting the scenes which did not have dialogues. And that really helped me a lot because I was in that costume and I was in that makeup. I was on set, I was present there, which helped me a lot to understand. So, first 5 days is back at Harshit.
Great.
Udayana wants to add something. Udayana, you're on mute.
Yeah.
You're on
Now
mute.
go ahead, Uday.
You're on mute.
Uday, mute with unnadu.
Mute, mute.
తనతో ఫస్ట్ షూట్ చేసిన 2-3 days ఏంటంటే జస్ట్ వెనక్కి తిరిగి చూసేటి ఉంటాయి కదా క్లాస్ రూమ్ లో, అవి మామూలుగా మొత్తం అనమాట. అంటే క్లాస్ లో ఎప్పుడైనా వెనక్కి తిరిగి చూడాలి, మళ్ళీ క్లాస్ లో ఎక్కువ రోజు లేదని అంటే పాపం ఒక రోజు మెడల్ కూడా పట్టేసుకునే అనమాట తనకి.
I couldn't turn around.
Yeah. I remember Ravi sitting behind, and the first time he sees,
Yes.
always, yeah, I remember that.
All that throughout the movie, whenever I look back, all that was shot in the first 3-4 days.
Yeah.
And that actually helped me. Apart from the neck pain, that actually helped me to get into the character and understand what's going around.
నేను ఎప్పుడైనా వెళ్ళి చెప్దాం అనుకున్నా అనుకోండి, ఎప్పుడైనా వెళ్ళి చెప్దాం అనుకుంటే నెక్స్ట్ డే లాగా ఏంటంటే ఇప్పుడు ఏంటంటే వెనక్కి తిరిగి చూడాలి అంతే కదా అంటారు.
Yeah. I mean, this is Uday's great characterization as a director when he's saying that, as part of the workshop where he had to make Gauri's character Roja practice those looks, just looking without speaking any lines, keep looking into the camera behind, and you'll see that as you're watching the film. Part of it is where Gauri's character speaks volumes through her eyes. Even Harshit's character. But before I go to Harshit, I quickly wanted to bring this a very interesting thing. When I saw this film, I said this could work beautifully as a short film too, like a 20-25 minute film, like a beautiful ending, crisp. But then I'm glad you actually fleshed it out into a feature. Uday, what is it about that short film that Darshi was referring to? That can you tell us a little more about it?
యాక్చువల్లీ అది డెమో అండి. అంటే ఫస్ట్ స్వప్న గారికి నరేట్ చేసినప్పుడు
Okay.
స్వప్న గారు యా స్వప్న గారికి నరేట్ చేసినప్పుడు స్వప్న గారు అంతా ఓకే, అంతా బాగానే ఉంది, స్టోరీ అంతా బాగానే ఉంది, ముందు ఒక చిన్న సీన్ నీకు నచ్చింది ఏదైనా పర్లేదు, ఒక సీన్ చిన్నది అంటే ఓవరాల్ గా లుక్ అండ్ ఫీల్ ఎట్లా ఉంటది అని తెలవడానికి అనమాట. అంటే అసలు ఆ
And that
వరల్డ్
was
ఎట్లా
spot
ఉంటది
on.
ఏంటి.
Yeah,
సో
that was bang
ఒకసారి
on.
సో
యా
అంటే మీరు ఈ సేమ్ క్యారెక్టర్స్ లో చేశారు యాక్టర్స్ తోనా లేకపోతే డిఫరెంట్ క్యారెక్టర్స్?
No, no, no,
అంటే
totally.
That was a different.
కొన్ని క్యారెక్టర్స్ ఉన్నాయి, కొన్ని వేరే అన్నమాట, వేరే
ఓకే
క్యారెక్టర్.
ఓకే ఓకే.
సో
So you remember, you
నచ్చినప్పుడు
remember one
సో
person? Sorry to Uday,
చెప్పమ్మా
go ahead, go ahead. Lila, I was in that particular demo film. You remember one person in the school ground who talks about
Hypnotism.
hypnotism. Yes,
The black, he makes that hole.
yes.
Yeah.
So that particular actor was there. He was doing high birth in that demo film.
Okay.
And it was such a challenge for me as well, because there was an actor who was bringing such freshness and such different nuances onto the character. And I was wondering, what if I'm really playing this character? Will I be able to ace the way he did it already in the demo film? And I was totally banking upon Uday's conviction that yes, I will definitely fit this. I'll probably pull it off. And
అది
again,
స్వప్న గారిది కూడా, నాతో పాటు స్వప్న గారిది కూడా అది. నా ఒక్కడిది కాదు అది.
Yeah.
స్వప్నది సమర్ది ఇద్దరిది.
yeah, even Summer is one person who's always in the background who doesn't, you always hear him like, Summer chepparu, Summer told this, Summer told that. So it's always like Summer. I was like wondering, who's this guy, man? Who's this mystery man, Summer, who's always behind? He's
The
saying,
content guy.
yeah. So it was refreshingly new in terms of the way he shot it, and
Yeah.
in terms of the idea of casting actors from the village.
Yeah.
So
I
there was
actually, one second, Darshi, I want to get into that. And also, I want to ask Swapna about how she kind of adapted herself as a producer to the look of the film. That was a paradigm shift for producers. Because you're talking about money. I mean, it is. You obviously, if you're investing money, you want to make money as a producer. But before I get into that, I wanted to ask Harshit. Hi, Harshit. So if I were to say the hero of this film is the computer, if I were to just look at it, I mean, it's this inanimate object that's sitting there that keeps sending off stuff, which complicates life for a lot of people around it. And then you have Haibat, who's like the main character there, and then you have Harshit, who plays Ravi, who is an aspirational character, కొంచెం wants to do well in life. And then, of course, the moment he sees that computer, the announcement, of course, I think you hear the announcement first as you're going on the bike. Haibat passes you. I remember that scene. And then something clicks for you. So, Harshit, how did you this? I'm assuming this is your first film. Is this your debut film?
Yeah, no, it's my first film, but I've done YouTube and all. I've
Okay,
been acting
YouTube.
from almost. Yeah,
Okay. So this is your official. Okay. So
yeah, this is the first debut.
how did you ace the audition?
Actually, there was a funny audition. Actually, Udayana asked me to send a clip, in a Telangana slang. But I didn't know. I didn't know.
I
I just,
have to 1 second. I have to interrupt you. I've seen Gauri. I just saw Gauri, breaking into laughter. So there must be a story here. But anyway, go ahead, Harshit. Go ahead.
that is, I mean, yeah, I didn't know the proper Telangana. I am from Telangana, but in films usually, if it is a rural kind of film, then they'll be like India Tanna or like something something like that. So I sent him an audition in Rayalaseema slang. I don't know what Udayana saw, but he called me up and he said, "Okay, I need you to audition again, and with the proper dialogues and all." He then, I don't know what he saw for the first audition itself. He thought that I would fit in to play Ravi.
Yeah. I mean, your face also very naive. There's an innocence to your face.
Yeah, actually that is an add-on for the character.
Yeah, no, and also it's where it's kind of there's also an ethos that you bring to the character where you're yourself an engineer. So there is that sense you can empathize with the character.
I see computer every day. It was very tough for me to see and
Exactly.
see it
Yeah.
for the first time. See it like I'm seeing it for the first time. So
Yeah.
that
But
was
you make a
actually
very interesting observation. Although you auditioned in Rayalaseema Telugu, which is very different from Telangana Telugu,
yeah,
uh, what I in fact remember growing up is Telangana Telugu was always used as a comedy track. Um,
yeah,
in the Telugu film industry that was dominated by the Andhra idiom and dialect. Um, so my parents are from Andhra, so at home I would speak Andhra Telugu and outside I would speak Telangana Telugu. So it was I could inhabit both the registers very easily. Both linguistic registers came to me easily because you slip into it. You don't even think twice about it. You kind of hey, get gatlostunao, I mean, that just comes out.
yeah.
Uh, so what I liked is from Pelli Chupulu onwards, maybe a little before that. I'm not going back to B. Narasimha Rau's films, but I'm talking about contemporary films where Telangana Telugu became part and parcel of Telugu cinema in a way that was not just looked upon ఒక కామెడీ లాగా కాకుండా కదా it was people would say
Absolutely.
yeah, this is realistic, this speaks to us. It could be a dialect difference between Mehboob Nagar or from Nizamabad to another district. So there are certain differences even within Telangana when we speak Telugu. Uh, so I think that authenticity, I think, really worked beautifully, and I think the question then goes to Swapna in terms of the language, the look of the film, where you are thinking about how will this particular film be received in what you saw in that particular shot.
So we kind of heard the narration. It was working. There was something very nice about it. There's so much honesty about the whole narration, but there's something called timing in this film. It's all about that timing. So I just wanted to make sure to see that coming alive. So I've asked Uday. I said, Uday, this would be our last leg. To making this film or not making this film. So I'd like you to shoot whatever you think is your best scene and come back with it. But yet I know Uday as a technician. I know his visuals will be great because I've seen his work. I know his visual
He
sense.
did
But I just feel,
24 Kisses.
not just that, but I know I mean, in
Oh,
generally, if you go through his work and his vision
yeah,
to, how the visuals look, you understand this man's perception.
yeah.
So I still wanted to understand that bit of that comedy timing. Is it coming along like the way he is assessing it to be? So, yeah, he shot something and he came back and it was bang on. It was just perfect. I again thought it was a little lengthy here and there, but then after that little film, I've decided we'll go ahead and make it. I mean, and one more thing about this particular production is, after watching that particular short film, I've decided I'm not. See, I now trust. I asked after watching it, I started trusting Uday. It's like, if this has to be made in the way that he is wanting to make it, then he only should make it. So I've told Uday, none of my people are going to come and going to spoil it, because I didn't want it to have that commercial, whatever you call it as, I didn't want that baggage on his head. I just told him, see, this is what I want. This is what I have small issues with. This, at least one or two bit of like this casting is something that I was looking into. Once it's all set, I just left it to that. So I know nothing about the film after they went into production. So it was all his headache, his issues. I mean, nothing came back to me also. I mean, they've done a splendid job. Once in a while, I would text him, send me some picture. Yeah, I would like to see something. What are you all doing there? So I was
యాక్చువల్లీ
pretty
అక్కడ
much
నెట్ ప్రాబ్లం కూడా ఉండేది అనమాట.
spectator there. After that, he came back and we watched the final footage. As good as that. That's the kind of, that's the kind of trust that we've had on him after that shot that he's done.
Yeah. Uday, you were saying something, Andy?
యా అంటే అదే స్వప్న గారు మామూలుగా షూట్ లో అంటే టైంలో ఏదైనా ఇమేజ్ ఉన్నా లేకపోతే ఏదైనా వీడియో ఉన్నా పంపించమనేది అనమాట. అక్కడేమో నెట్ ఉండకపోయేది సరిగా. నెట్ పంపిద్దాం అనుకుని నెట్ సరిగా లేకపోయేది అనమాట. మళ్ళీ ఈవినింగ్ కాగానే మళ్ళీ రేపటి షూట్ అదే దాంట్లో పడిపోయి ఆల్మోస్ట్ యాక్చువల్గా స్వప్న గారు అసలు ఫుటేజ్ చూడలే అనమాట. అంటే ఫస్ట్ కాపీ వరకు కూడా
Yeah.
చూడలేదు. కంప్లీట్ ఇంకా ఫస్ట్ కాపీనే చూసారనమాట.
But also it didn't matter. It didn't matter, Satish. I mean, once you trust a project like this, when you see a bit of it, you should not put your hands into it. You should let them do what they want to do.
Yeah.
So I think that came together well also, fortunately.
That's why I like the word you use, authentic, because you preserved it as a producer. Because in India, producers do become hands-on. And it's difficult, because they are looking at another angle. So, and it's also where, Telugu realistic cinema loni now, Indian films, especially now, since we watch the best of cinema, we are part of the committee, so we have been watching hundreds of cinema, films over the years, and we are very privileged that way, to watch the best that is coming out of India in terms of festival cinema. And this is a film that really walks into that, just walks into any festival for me. Now on Netflix, on other streaming services, we get used to this, slowly getting used to this phrase called slow burn. Where things are slowly unpacking, right? So when I teach my film courses here, and my students are all American, I mean, a couple of Indian Americans or Asian Americans, but predominantly American. And so they have to get used to films that are 1 hour, 16 minutes long, like Male, slowly unpack, right? Or 2 hour, or it could be a 3 hour film, like, another film, Hindi film. Festival films, they take time to kind of unpack the characters. And this is where, it brings me to the casting, because I found the film's casting to be brilliant. Where the director and the casting agent took brave decisions to go with someone like Gauri, who's urban, someone like Harshit, who is trying to figure out, okay, what does Telangana Telugu sound like, and and of course, Darshi, who is an established actor, so it makes it easy because
I would actually.
Go ahead, Darshi.
Professor Satish, actually, when all of the casting and all is done, we were met for a small reading, and then there was just a plain photo shoot just to see if our costumes are fitting in right and all. And so when we actually went on to shoot the film, I could see all these young actors who come, nice and fresh. Most of them is their debut film. And all of them were bringing certain naivety, whether it is Gauri or whether it is Harshit or there's Mani, and there are other couple of actors who bought in. Unlike me, whom so-called the established actor, where I already, when you keep working in certain many other films, you come with little sense of pollution in your head, like, because you have set standard expressions, set standard or expressions, or the way you or the techniques that you've been following to do other films. Generally, when you portraying other characters in other films, walking into a film like this was a bit of a challenge for me. But when you look at actors like Harshit and all of these people, they're performing, they're bringing something new and so fresh and so real. It was a bit of a complex sometimes, where you know what? I think you'll be caught before their naivety. You'll be caught before their, certain freshness that they're bringing onto the screen. Because when you actually cast some non-actors per se, let's omitting both of them right now, or bringing in some people. You remember, especially that scene where in the panchayat, where they're deciding what is wrong with all of this.
Virus.
The Iris and Dale, all of this. So you know the moment those actors, those people, they're bringing certain freshness, certain rawness into that screen. But as an actor like me, who's been working in other films, to bring in such kind of energy, such kind of fresh take to High Birth was particularly a challenge. And I remember Uday wasn't very happy with me the first day. He was like, okay, let's shoot. And he shot the whole first day, but he went with certain resentment. And he said, you know what, we'll take a day off, we'll actually do more rehearsals. So it was also okay. Acha, I think I'm really doing it wrong. So we were sitting in that room. We were again rehearsing. He would go on multiple iterations. Are we doing it right? Are we doing it right? Okay. Led mama, you're the Inca will do. I think the third day, probably, I remember the second day or the third day, when we were doing that scene with me and Ravi, where I was explaining, what, this is computer, this is the CPU, this is this, that. I think that particular day, he took me aside and said, Mama, ide kaval naku. This is what I want.
Yeah.
This is what I'm looking from you. And so holding to that,
See, for
holding,
me, there is also a smugness to the character.
yes,
To
yes,
Hyman.
yes,
The smugness has to come out. కొంచెం arrogance, నాకు అంతా
exactly.
తెలుసు, I know
Yeah,
everything.
correct. Because back then, unlike a lot of digital natives, high birth kind of characters are they're digital migrants who are adapting to the
Yes,
technology, who are you're getting
yeah,
in there. And the moment they knew something, they already feel like, you know what, dude, I've been there, done that kind of attitude that they
yeah.
bring.
I mean,
Remember
if I
back
were
in
to,
2000,
yeah, if I were to draw an analogy, they are like agricultural extension agents.
yeah,
You
yeah,
go out with knowledge, and so you bring the whole secret.
yeah,
You're the
exactly.
educated guy. Yeah, yeah.
So that bringing that with Uday was a kind of challenge, but it's been a new discovery for me as an actor to
Mm.
perform and be Hybath. I remember on the last day of the shoot, he said, "You know what? We have another day of shoot," and he actually reshoot the entire first day that I've already been part of. He made sure, you know what? Now this is the time you're in the character, so let's shoot all the first day scenes. So he came back, was the edit, the scenes that he had to again to reshoot with me and the other fellow actors of mine, and to bring in that has been such a catharsis,
Mhm.
to be part of this project in general, or in particular per se, to work with these actors and the amazing technicians. And all of them are my friends. I've been working with them for many days. So
And that is what I
main
like, the attention to detail, costumes for everyone from Gauri
yes,
and everyone to
yes,
Ashwin. To you, the going retro, the
yeah,
combinations, the sweaters. I remember
yeah.
growing up as a kid, going for 30-inch bell bottoms and those rounded collars. And my dad would say, I got collars, are they wings? You know, I remember, but I really loved that attention to detail. I mean, it was beautiful, the production design, Uday,
Yeah.
going to Darshi's thing about casting, ante when you were looking for that right vibe from the character, it's fascinating. Ante you were looking for each character, okay, you had that particular sensibility.
సో బేసిక్గా అది అనుకున్నప్పుడు తన బ్యాక్ స్టోరీ నుంచి అనుకున్నది అనమాట. అంటే తను ఆల్రెడీ ఒక ఫోటోగ్రాఫర్. సో ఇప్పుడు కొత్త ఒకటి తీసుకొని వచ్చాడు ఊర్లోకి. వాడు ఊర్లో అందరికంటే కొంచెం లుక్ వైజ్ కూడా కొంచెం డిఫరెంట్గా కనిపించాలి. సో ఎట్ ది సేమ్ టైం ఉన్న వాళ్ళందరికంటే వీడు కొంచెం ఇంటెలిజెంట్ అని ఫీల్ అవుతుంటాడు. కొంచెం ఆ డిగ్నిటీని బాడీ లాంగ్వేజ్ లో మెయింటైన్ చేస్తుంటాడు. సో అది కాస్ట్యూమ్ లో కనపడాలి.
Yeah, the way it stands, yeah.
అది కాస్ట్యూమ్ లో కనపడాలి అనేది మేజర్ థింగ్ అనమాట. సో అట్లా చూస్తున్న టైంలో అంటే లుక్ వైజ్ గా అనేది కొంచెం వీళ్ళందరికీ అంటే కొంచెం డిఫరెంట్ గా ఉండాలనే దాంట్లో అశ్వన్ కాస్ట్యూమ్ డిజైనర్ అనమాట. అశ్వన్ అని. సో తను కొన్ని ఐడియాస్ తనే ఐడియాస్ చెప్తున్న దాంట్లో ఫైనల్ గా ఇప్పుడు ప్రజెంట్ ఏదైతే ఉందో అది ఆ కాస్ట్యూమ్ ఫిక్స్ చేసాం.
No, this is awesome, really. The way you captured the character through Ashwin, the costume designer, giving him that, that pose also, the way he stands when he comes out of the store, and sometimes when he looks around, as if he owns the whole damn thing. Yeah, I mean,
And
that
he
was
was very Uday was very particular in terms of sometimes how do you pronounce a syllable, where do you want to stress it, and especially when it comes to going back to his backstory, where you know what, long ago even I put a studio where I taught two people, and suddenly they all
and someone else.
yeah. So that one particular scene, he made us do it like more than few more than times, so that we get the right
Yeah,
vibe. And
yeah.
Harshit doesn't. I mean, Ravi doesn't have too much to say because he's this guy who comes with too many aspirations to that studio. I mean, to that computer center.
But
And he wants to learn everything.
Harshit, yeah, Harshit, I think Uday did a great job casting Harshit, because Harshit also, talking about body language, the way he kind of slightly bends over, servile, ready to anything, and of course Gauri's body language gave her neck pain, literally. Right.
The boss lady.
కొట్టేస్తారు అన్నారు.
No, but eventually in the film, I am this girl who has a slight attitude. Like I
Yes.
don't want to open up. I want the guy to come and talk to me, and I just don't want to make the first. So it's been like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So
Even
I
in
had to
the,
carry that.
yeah,
Yeah,
I was about, yeah. You're right. It's just that it's also that you know what you want in life,
yes.
right? Yeah.
That's
And
partly
Rashid,
Swapnaka's imitation. Like,
go ahead, Rashid, please go ahead.
partly, I said partly, not fully.
Oh,
Wow,
partly, okay.
I didn't know this.
I think Gauri is not the only fool in the film.
Yeah.
We are all fools. Gauri is not the only one who's
Good. But Harshit, you after doing this role, you've kind of come out as this character, aspirational, innocent-looking character. So now the challenge for you in those next films is to look different, have a different thing. So this film actually gives you a great opportunity to explore your talent and your skill
yeah.
sets.
Actually, these kinds of films. I mean, it. అదే నీ లోపల యాక్టర్ ని ప్రూవ్ చేసుకునే ఛాన్స్ వస్తుంది ఇలాంటి ఫిల్మ్స్, దీస్ కైండ్ ఆఫ్ ఫిల్మ్స్. సో రియలీ ఫార్చునేట్ దట్ ఉదయన్ నన్ను క్యాచ్ చేసిండండి. అండ్ యా, అంటే నాకు వచ్చిన అంటే నెక్స్ట్ వచ్చే ఫిల్మ్స్ కూడా అన్ని విలేజ్ బేస్డ్ ఇట్లా చూస్తున్నారు. బట్ ఐఎమ్ ట్రైంగ్ టు
Yeah.
do
No,
some
yeah,
short.
because I remember certain heroes like, back then used to be typecast as romantic or action, and we don't want to be. I mean, that she has walked that line. I mean, he has inhabited different roles. So, so that is something where, and this particular film, script-wise, production, the music, of course, wish we could have, had the time to even include Agasti, Speaker Agasti and Kapan. I mean, this was just absolutely brilliant. Right from the word go, the music played such an instrumental role in creating that mood for the film. I mean, this film was related to Rasanubhuti at all levels. And
Rasanubhuti.
for me
Very well
also,
said. Yeah.
watching a Telugu film, and this is something where I want to have a slightly broader conversation and especially bring in Swapna here. Um, in terms of where Telugu cinema is going, now given that a house production house like yours now has opened up doors for filmmakers, and then you have Raj and Krishna who produced Cinema Bandi, another kind of a film which is based on Rayalaseema dialect. Harshit, please note that's Rayalaseema. Uh, yeah, Chudu. It's a beautiful film. I just started watching it.
Yeah,
Uh, yeah. So,
loved
Swapna,
it.
how does that kind of, alter your vision or reinvent what you look forward to in Telugu cinema? Where do you see talent coming from? The stories, obviously, content is king at the end of the day. Right, it's the story, Kada. So, where do you see it? And then I want to ask Uday the same thing in terms of new directions for Telugu cinema. Yeah. Ever, not just, yeah. Go ahead, Swapna.
Where do you see it, Ante? I mean, how are you all? I mean, is your question towards the direction of how you able to find the talent? Is that what is the question?
No, in terms of the content, in terms of the kind of films that are being made, the kind of scripts that are coming to you, that's what I mean.
So there's all sorts of scripts coming to us, in fact, when we started production, when me and Priyanka ventured into production, we weren't getting any sort of I wouldn't say good script, but the scripts that we wanted to present or something that we wanted to watch, like a film that we would want to watch. So it was kind of branded, or it was like these guys only do the big ticketed commercial films. These guys do very hero driven sort of cinema, and probably not. We were really hunting. We were like, where are the filmmakers? Where are the young filmmakers? We would like to make cinema. I mean, most of them wouldn't even trust us that we'll make that sort of a cinema. That's a story which was 4 years ago or 5 years ago. To now, things have changed tremendously in Telugu. I mean, we do get all sorts. We get commercial scripts, we get good scripts, we get bad ones, and we get very sweet subjects like this. And I think we're making a great wave in the Telugu cinema. I don't see. I again would like to. It's very important that we all understand that there was great cinema being done in Telugu, not only now. Way back also, there was a Sagar Sangamam, there was a Swarna Kamalam, there was a Pratigatana. Besides those big ticket commercial solid films, money spinners, it was also this fantastic sensible cinema which was still the money spinners. So that's where me and my sister come along. We think cinema has to make sense. That's at least we are trying to do. I mean, we've been successful till now, so let's see how it's going to be. But I think it's definitely a great wave for Telugu cinema. People are welcoming good content, which is great for all of us.
Yeah. No, I remember Amala had invited me to give a talk in 2016 to the students of the Annapurna Film Institute. And in fact, I wanted to bring Amla onto this to become part of the conversation, but she was tied up. And this is the same kind of conversation we had back then on campus too, an Annapurna Institute, where they do make short films. They put it out on YouTube, and when producers invest money, then we are looking for, again, hero-oriented films because you are guaranteed of your returns. But then again, this also, now you have realized with the creation of multiplex audiences, the film tastes have changed. So I remember Hyderabad Blues by Nagesh, early 20 years ago, which was a very middle class, literally shot in Vetuladi in his home. I mean, so that is kind of the thing where dialogues are not theatrical. Daibat and Roja and Ravi are not shouting their dialogues. They are very understated. It's more realistic. I think that has come into play. Which even
that was a big drive through.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I completely agree with.
There was another film called.
Go ahead.
There was another film called Dollar Dreams. Back
Yes.
then, this was a very independent small film which was being played in small theaters, like doing one singular shows in theaters like Sangeet and also. We all went to watch it as students, and then we were amazed with this filmmaker, and that happens to be Shekhar Kamula. So the breakthrough happened back then itself, but it took some time for the whole wave to start, I guess.
Yeah. Adi, Uday, this is what I was asking, in terms of realism in dialogue delivery too. I mean, that is very important, especially in South Indian films, because we come from a theatre tradition where, for instance, in Telugu cinema, we grew up with the NTRs and the ANRs and the SVRs, the Ranga Raos, where, there is a kind of a flourish to delivering dialogues. And now this is intlo maatladnattu, we are having this conversation. So that was quite a paradigm shift for filmmakers to adapt to, for producers to adapt to, because audiences were already there for the taking. It is just that the filmmakers or the producers had to make that move and say, why don't we, kind of make it more realistic, right?
యాక్చువల్లీ ప్రజెంట్ అదే అండి. ఇప్పుడు ఇది అంటే మళ్ళీ కొన్ని రోజుల తర్వాత మళ్ళీ ఇది బోర్ కొడుతుందేమో తెలియదు. మళ్ళీ అది మూడ్ చేంజ్ అవ్వచ్చు తెలియదు. మరి ఇంత రియలిస్టిక్ ఉంటే చూడలేమబ్బా అనే రోజులు కూడా వస్తాయి మళ్ళీ. అది కూడా తెలియదు. కాకపోతే ఏంటంటే మంచి విషయం. అంటే బేసిక్గా కొంచెం ఇవేంటంటే రియాలిటీకి దగ్గరగా, అంటే మనం మాట్లాడుతున్నప్పుడు మనం పక్కన చూస్తూ ఉన్నప్పుడు అంటే వాటిని స్క్రీన్ మీద చూసేటప్పుడు ఏంటంటే కొంచెం కనెక్టివిటీ ఎక్కువ ఉంటుంది బేసిక్గా. అంటే సేమ్ ఏవైతే మనం రెగ్యులర్గా చూస్తున్నామో కొంచెం నమ్మడానికి ఎక్కువ ఉంటుంది. లేదు కొంచెం ఫిక్షనల్గా ఉండాలి అంటే మనం వెళ్ళి థియేటర్కి వెళ్ళి కొంచెం వేరే వాళ్ళలో ఉండాలనుకున్నప్పుడు ఏంటంటే వేరే అవన్నీ కూడా వర్కౌట్ అవుతాయి.
దట్ ఇస్ ఇన్ జాతిరత్నాలు కన్సెప్ట్ పిక్చర్.
అదే అన్నీ అందరికి నచ్చుతాయి. ప్రతిదానికి ఒక కైండ్ ఆఫ్ సెగ్మెంట్ పీపుల్ ఉంటారు, అది అందరికి నచ్చుతూనే ఉంటాయి.
I mean, Uday makes a good point. How much realism can audiences take? They need some escapist elements too, which is a good point. When people go to
చాలా మందికి అంటే ఇప్పుడు నాతోని అన్న వల్ల కూడా అంటే మరీ అంత రియలిస్టిక్ ఉంటే కూడా జనాలకి ఎక్కని వాళ్ళు కూడా చాలా మంది ఉంటారు అనమాట. అంటే అది ఉంటది అంటే వాళ్ళు అంటే అది తప్పని కాదు, వాళ్ళ టేస్ట్ అది అంతే. అంటే వాళ్ళు అంటే సో వాళ్ళు కొన్ని సినిమాలను ఇష్టపడతారు, సో అంతే. దాని తప్పు రైట్ రాంగ్ అనేలాగా ఏం లేదు.
No, but I'll tell you something. అంటే ఉదయ్, ఈ బెయిల్లోని డాన్సులు లేవు. There's no song and dance typical. There is music. There are songs. I was listening to the soundtrack. I mean, the song is it Tippiri Tippiri? Yeah. On my drive from DC the other day, I was listening to the soundtrack of Jatiratnalu. I love the idiom, the lyrics. It's beautifully done. I mean, some of these songs are just so when I'm listening to the song, I don't have to think about a dance. I'm thinking about the particular mood. I mean, and those are songs that you can hum along. There's, lyrics make you smile. I mean, I remember, it is beautifully done. So you don't have to have a fantasy take off into a dance and then, say Gauri and Harshit imagining themselves dancing on the bridge or somewhere. That is again going commercial, where a producer would come in and say, "Koncho oka song dance perte, item number perte mountundandi." They would put that kind of pressure, which is what thankfully Swapna and Priyanka didn't do.
No, but I think adding to continue.
అంటే బేసిక్ గా అది ఇప్పుడు అది అందరికి మళ్ళీ ఆ టేస్ట్ ఉండదు. అది ప్రొడ్యూసర్ కూడా ఫస్ట్ ఆ టేస్ట్ ఉంటది కాబట్టి, అంటే అది ఉండాలి కాబట్టి ఇలాంటి స్టోరీస్ ఓకే అవుతాయి. అంటే మామూలుగా ఈ కైండ్ ఆఫ్ స్టోరీస్ అంటే ఇప్పుడు మేబీ వాళ్ళ వైపు నుంచి కూడా ఉంటది, అరే ఇది ఇక్కడ స్కోప్ ఉంది, ఇక్కడ పెట్టొచ్చు కదా అనేలాగా ఉంటది. బట్ ఏంటంటే ఇనిషియల్గా ఏంటంటే వాళ్ళకు కూడా అంటే ఫిల్మ్ మేకింగ్ మీద కానీ వీటి మీద కానీ ఒక ఇంట్రెస్ట్ లేకపోతే మంచి టేస్ట్ ఉన్నప్పుడు ఏంటంటే ఇవన్నీ
No, obviously.
Also.
Yeah. Go ahead, Swapna.
Also here, I feel we cannot determine it like that, because every project has its own, has its own way of coming
exactly.
out. So there will probably a film which actually needs an item song. You never know.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you really can't define, so if you ask me, are we restricted to it as filmmakers? No. It's a story that we would like to tell as producers along with the director. So if it has to be male, great. That's something which is like, if your heart likes it, you like it. I still love Bahubali also, so that's also another part of cinema. So
absolutely,
it's all about good cinema, and it's not about an art film or a commercial film or a big film, small film. It's just beautiful stories.
Content is king. Absolutely, story. In fact, if you see the 58 films here, the features especially, you'll find some really dark thrillers, in Malayalam, and you will. I mean, please, I encourage all of you to watch those films. They're thrillers. They're amazing, and they would walk into any film festival, any international film festival. In fact, some of them have. But you're right, Swapna. I mean, in terms of story driving everything, I mean, that is very true. But again, to shy away from the ubiquitous, song and dance undali, the typical fight scene, masala, where for me the most refreshing part of this film also was where I was laughing and smiling from the seriousness of the Haibat's face, or the way Gauri looks at Harshit. That made me laugh or smile. So it is not where one had to have a comedy track running. Okay, Haibat being angry on the screen produced laughter in the audience. So the dialogues, the story, I mean, that also worked beautifully, where people didn't have to speak much, but yet could elicit laughter. I mean, that way, music and is very much part of Telugu cinema. I mean, people want that, and now I find even an evolution in music. Telugu film music has become much more interesting in terms of composition, in terms of lyrics, in terms of fusion. Compared to, I'm not going to compare Telugu this music to the classics. No, we cannot compare different eras. But if I were to compare this era to the 80s, I would say this era is better than the 80s. Uh, Definitely.
I think also to add to that what you're saying, Professor, I think we were at this kind of crossroads after the lockdown and has opened up, and till then people are talking about, you know what, the future is OTT, the future is OTT and all, and suddenly the gates of the theaters have opened. People started thronging into the theaters. Until the before lockdown, for example, up till let's say Vakil Saab is a recent release, we had
Yeah.
housefuls, whether it was Jati Ratnalu or Vakil Saab or the previous films, a little previous films, whether open or not. So the idea that definitely we have fragmented audience, or if you look at it, the lineup of what Swapnaka is doing next, let's say there's a huge, big sci-fi film, probably India's biggest sci-fi film, and also there's another a film like Mail right now, or a film with probably Dulkar the next. So such a very diversified films that as producers also understanding, the future is also to catering to this individual section of audience particularly. So I think films like Mail and storytellers like Uday will always find their place in whatever time that we are living in.
Yeah.
And yes, definitely this is the best time for cinema, undoubtedly, because there's a new voice, not just the language, but a new set of space is there for actors to venture into, or storytellers to tell such
Yeah,
very
yeah, yeah. No, I
unusual,
was,
unorthodox stories.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'm
I was
definitely happy
watching,
to.
I think it's called OK Computer or something, and
Yes,
Honey,
yes, yes.
Honey is in that, Kasuri,
Vijay and
and
all of this.
fascinating. Absolutely. I mean, sci-fi. I mean, we watch sci-fi here. Why not Indian sci-fi? People have made it.
Yeah,
That's great.
social
I mean,
commentary. Yeah,
at
yeah.
the
Yeah.
end of the day, it's about content being engaging for the audience.
But
So,
I also feel parallelly, the audience also, they've been evolving through times.
yes,
Like, I mean, if you see what we used to watch, like probably in late 2000s or early 2000s or 90s, and now I think the content is much more diverse, and the audience are ready to absorb any sort of content, and
yeah.
they've become very good at judging like what's good and what's wrong.
That's also because we've been watching films from other cultures. So if
Exactly.
you're watching an Iranian film or a Belgian film
Exactly.
or South American, yeah. That's also kind of expanded our taste.
Yeah. Thanks
Filmmakers,
to the OTT revolution.
yeah,
Yes.
it is. I mean, if you watch, films like The Disciple, unfortunately, it's already been released, went to Berlin.
Wow.
But if you watch some of those
Exactly.
films, there is a market there, and that's what when I opened up this conversation, a film like Article 15 last year or a film like Mail makes producers and audiences happy because, especially producers, because they're commercially viable, they're successful, they do well at the box office, and they're also critically acclaimed. And the producers also, get kudos for encouraging this kind of cinema, which is what we need at the end of the day. And of course, the directors. And this is what, for me, to go back to Gauri's point, I thought where we are getting also very interesting stories,
Exactly.
right? Very interesting, be it in Marathi, Bengali, Malayalam. Oh my God, dark, humorous. Absolutely, the palette is just incredibly diverse in terms of the stories, and you see this year's festival edition too.
Yeah.
It's mind-boggling, and it's also very competitive. So, for all of us, the committee, it was tough to bring it down to the slots that we actually came up with. So, you know, but thank you, folks. This has just been an incredible conversation. Thank you for making a film, Swapna, producing a film. Thank you, Uday, for making it, for shooting it beautifully. You and Sham was your assistant, Sham, the DOP. Yeah.
Unmute me. Mute.
You're on mute.
Mute lo no.
Yeah,
yeah.
and
Shyamji
to
Pati, yeah.
Harshit, to Darshi, and to Gauri for being part of it. I would urge everyone, if you haven't watched Mail and you're watching this should be cue for you to go immediately and watch Mail. Uh, Absolutely brilliant film, lovely, cute film, and something where, for me, as someone who's Telugu speaking, it was also special because we were able to bring in a Telugu film on board and show it to a global audience, and get to introduce Telugu cinema to people and not just uh, kind of be stereotyped. And Swapna, Uday, Gauri, Priyadarshi, and Harshit. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you
Professor
so much,
Satish.
Satish. You guys are really
Thank you so
being
much.
the flag bearers for good cinema. I mean, this is really most needed in these times. And thank you so much for recognizing this sweet film. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for the vote of confidence in me.
Any final words about the film?
Uday, చెప్పేసి
ఏమో నేనే
Uday, you are working on 2 other projects, right?
అంటే నెక్స్ట్ మళ్ళీ స్వప్న గారితో.
Okay, wonderful. This is something where, again, yeah, Gauri, any last thoughts on the film?
I couldn't hear you, sir.
Jokes
I
apart,
said,
yeah,
any
we love
last
to. I
thoughts
mean,
on the film?
Uday,
Yeah, it's
Kambalpalli Kadulu, more and more. That's something that audience would like to know after watching this film, I guess.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
because I think all of us are just, like, I think everybody, all of us keep getting messages when is Kambalapalli Kadalu Part 2 is coming out.
Yes.
So I think he knows it.
Yeah.
And
I don't know.
some people are asking, is there a only high birth story also? So just to add to that. So, I'm not giving any hints here.
Yeah. And so what also our festival does is it creates a buzz. There are films that have come to our festival and gone back and gotten commercial releases. Christian DK have been part of that Show in the City. Many films, that have gone back. And this is word of mouth where, again, we have, a huge Telugu audience even in North America. People who may not have watched Mail or, other good Telugu films. So this is a great chance for them to actually watch Mail on a platform like ours, on a festival
So glad.
platform. Yeah.
So glad.
So thank you so much, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Satish.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Namaste,
you.
sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Lovely chatting with you all.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.